frankly, I'm too squeamish, so I just honestly didn't believe I could do it on my own.
After the murder, how long did you and Nick remain in Missouri?
Maybe 2 days.
But you could help clean it up. Frankly, I don't like the sight of blood. I'm too squeamish. But you can listen to her screams. And you can help clean it up. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Lindsay Unfiltered. And today we are going to be going back into Gypsy Rose's testimony on Nicholas Godejohn's trial. Now, about a week ago, I did the first part of her testifying on the stand. I said she seemed pretty truthful on the stand. We gave our unfiltered analysis on it. Now, there's about 50 minutes left of Gypsy's testimony in Nick's trial. I'm going to break this into 2 videos, with this video being the second part, and the third part will come later on this week. Now guys, if you like content like this that covers scandal, controversy, true crime, with a twist of humor, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, just like 1,193 others have done. I want to thank all my subscribers. Thank you guys. It means the absolute world to me. About a week ago, I was at 1,000 subscribers, so we're growing at a good rate, and I really, truly appreciate it. With that being said, please check out my last video. I read Dee Dee Blanchard's autopsy. It's the full unfiltered version, and I read it, all 17 pages, and it did pretty well, so thank you guys for your continued engagement with that. Without further ado, guys, let's get into the second part of Gypsy Rose's testimony in Nick's trial. Okay guys, so if you missed the first part of Gypsy taking the stand, she basically laid the framework for how she met Nick and how their relationship came to be. And there was a brief pause because they smelt something in the courtroom burning. So this is them coming back after that brief pause. And she also did tell the court she is the one that told Nick to do what they did. She is the one who convinced Nick to do what they did. She did testify to that in the first part. If you haven't seen my first video of Gypsy Rose testifying, I suggest you go do that now.
All right, we get Miss Godejohn, or Miss Blanchard in. Do Mr. Godejohn. And to the line of the jury. Thank you for your patience. I know we have.
Did the judge say Miss Godejohn? Like, what's that about? What's that about, Judge? Miss Godejohn? Are you trying to be funny in here? Please don't be funny in here, Judge.
Students in the courtroom, I want to remind you, you can't film or also record anything that's going on in the courtroom. Otherwise, we'll have to take your phone. Ms. Blanchard, have a seat, please. I think your water's still there, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's not a fire, so don't worry. You get it? Don't be scared. Be scared. You don't want to hold the microphone. This one's pretty sensitive.
I don't like holding it.
You like holding it? Okay. That's
Such a good day in court. Such a good day to be in court. We can laugh about holding mics and, you know.
And there's tissues for you. All rise.
When they say all rise for the jury, that means you too, Gypsy. What are you doing? all rise. The judge here is even standing, and he is the highest sitting position in this court. All rise means everyone in the court. Everyone in the court. You see attorneys, You see the defendant, the witness. Am I wrong? All rise means all rise, in my opinion.
Please have a seat. Thank you. Ms. Blanchard, I want to remind you that you're still under oath. Mr. Perry?
Thank you, Judge. Gypsy, how many boyfriends did you have prior to Nick?
None.
Now, I want to start talking about June of 2015. You mentioned that you had decided to kill your mother at some point.
Yes, sir.
Was that the only plan you...
She had no boyfriends prior to Nick, so the Dan thing was a hoax. Because we heard about this guy named Dan that she went to go see from the hospital and all that. That wasn't her boyfriend, that was just her friend that was a boy. Like, we wouldn't consider that a full-term relationship. Can somebody let me know? I don't know much about Dan. We don't know much about Dan. They didn't bring him up in the documentaries. There's not much that we know about Dan. Well, that I know. She said Dan wasn't her boyfriend. That's what she's saying on the stand under oath.
You ever had in terms of how to get out of your situation?
Besides running away, that is the only one.
Did you have other alternative plans other than killing your mother?
Yes.
How many plans altogether did you have?
3.
Okay. Did you have names for those plans?
Yes.
What were the names?
Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C.
And could you tell us about the other 2 possibilities other than killing your mother?
Yes. Plan A, we already had tried that, which was to meet up at the movie theater, act like we never met before, and try and start a relationship from there, with my mother's permission.
And what was the other alternative plan?
Another one was for me to get pregnant. I believed that since he would be the father, he would have to be in my life.
Now, Nick came down to Springfield again in June of 2015, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Who paid for that trip?
I did.
Why did you pay for that trip?
Again, I didn't think he had enough money.
And how did you get money to him to come down on that trip?
I stole money from my mother, and I sent it to him via the mail.
Do you have any idea exactly how much money you sent to Nick?
Over $1,000.
And in these 2 trips to Springfield, how much of his own money was used?
I thought she just said 800. I thought earlier she testified 800. Now it's 1,000.
I do not know.
Are you aware that he spent any of his money on either of these 2 trips?
No, sir.
Do you know when he arrived on the second trip?
Yes.
And when was that?
I believe it was June 8th of 2015.
And how long did he stay this time?
Only a couple of days.
And was this when your mother was murdered?
Yes.
And when was that specifically?
June 10th, 2015.
Do you know about what time she was murdered?
Maybe about 3 a.m. in the morning.
And after her murder, what time did you leave?
Maybe 6 in the morning.
After the murder, where did you go? You and Nick.
We went back to the hotel, the Days Inn Hotel.
Now, while he was on his way down here, did you guys talk?
Yes.
How did you communicate?
Text message, Facebook.
And the state has introduced into evidence a knife, and I believe it is State's Exhibit 145. Did Nick have a knife that was used in the murder?
I supplied the knife.
Where did you get the knife?
I stole it from Walmart
And why did you steal it from Walmart?
because I didn't see a knife that was sufficient enough in our own home.
There was also some gloves that have been introduced into evidence.
Yes,
Where did Nick get the gloves?
I supplied them.
So you gave him the weapon, you gave him the tools, basically, essentially, to do this. You supplied. It sounds similar to when you go to the military and they give you a uniform and they give you a weapon and they give you a helmet and they say, here, do your job, right? And since when could you steal a knife out of Walmart? I don't think it's safe for Walmart to just have knives that you can steal out of there. Like the ones that I see are on display, or unless she like took a box of kitchen knives, but we know that's not the case. How was she able to get that fillet knife out of there? Was it something that was in a little package? Because that looks like something that would be in the sporting section, you know, where they used to have the weapons in Walmart, the knives, like behind a glass counter or something. You know, I don't really think Walmart does that anymore. At least where I live, they don't do it anymore. But they used to have, back in the day, they used to have these counters where they'd have weapons at Walmart. They'd have like BB guns. I think they still do it at Academy. BB guns, they'd have knives, they'd have real weapons back there. And they'd have like the glass and all of that. You'd have to go back there and take it. Now, I don't know how she was able to get a fully functional fishing knife, fillet knife, without getting caught. I don't know where that knife is in Walmart. I'm gonna have to look it up. Like, what aisle is that on that you're so easily able to take that? Because it is a weapon.
And where did you get the gloves?
They were already in our house.
How did Nick know when to do this crime, time-wise, that morning?
I told him.
Who planned this murder?
I did.
Did Nick do any of the planning in this murder?
He may have had one or two.
Do you know what plans he provided?
He decided what the weapon would be.
Had you discussed alternative methods of killing your mother?
Yes.
What other alternatives had you considered?
Poison, arson, a gun.
Why did you not consider poison?
It was too hard to find an odorless, tasteless poison.
Why didn't you kill your mother?
I didn't believe I could do it.
Could you explain what you mean by that?
I don't like blood. I don't like the sight of blood. Frankly, I'm too squeamish. So I just honestly didn't believe I could do it on my own.
After the murder, how long did you and Nick remain in Missouri?
Maybe 2 days.
But you could help clean it up. Frankly, I don't like the sight of blood. I'm too squeamish. But you can listen to her screams. And you can help clean it up. Sick.
And where were you planning on going?
Back to his mom's house in Wisconsin.
Did you encounter any problems that caused you to be delayed from leaving Springfield?
Yes, sir.
What problems?
His return bus ticket, there was no room for an extra passenger on that bus, so we had to change bus tickets. So that delayed us about a day.
And where did you go that extra day?
We went back to the motel,
What motel?
Days Inn.
Why did you go to that motel?
That was the motel that he was staying at.
Who paid for that motel room?
I did.
Who went in to reserve the room?
Nick did.
Why did Nick go in and make the reservation if you were paying for it?
I didn't want to be seen.
Why did you not want to be seen?
I didn't want to be recognized.
Did you go anyplace else other than Days Inn while you remained at Springfield after your mother's death?
Yes.
Where?
The Waffle House, right across the street. A post office. Walmart. And of course the Greyhound bus station.
Okay, let's take them one at a time. Why did you go in the Waffle House? That may seem like a silly question. Why did you go in the Waffle House?
Because we were hungry.
Okay, when did you go to the Waffle House?
I think it was the morning of the 12th
Why did you go to the post office?
to mail the knife back to his mother's house.
And who decided to mail the knife through the mail?
I did.
Why did you decide to mail it through the mail?
Because he wanted me to take it in my backpack, and I never had ridden on a bus before, and I didn't think that there were any way that I could get it through without being undetected. So I figured mail it. People mail knives all the time. They buy knives offline. Nobody will know the difference.
The return address on the package, what return address was it?
Mine.
And then it was mailed to his house in Wisconsin?
Yes, sir.
Why did you go to Walmart?
We needed a few extra things.
Did you go in Walmart?
No, sir.
Why not?
I waited outside with the luggage.
Did you go in the post office?
Yes.
Do you know exactly when you arrived in Wisconsin?
I believe it was the night of the 13th.
And did he have family that he lived with?
Yes.
Do you know who the family was?
His mother, his stepfather, and his little brother.
And how long were you at the house until law enforcement came?
2 days.
What were your plans going forward? What did you plan on doing?
Just staying with him and living forever there.
Give any thought to possibly the police locating you? Did that ever occur to you?
You knew that your plans were not staying with him forever there. You're lying here. You're lying. I know you're lying. Because if your plans were staying with him forever there, you would have never made the Facebook post that you did from his cell tower or from his Wi-Fi tower. I don't understand how you could say your plans were staying with him forever when you gave your location up. What was your point in doing any of this? You lied there. You lied, I feel, a couple of times now. You said you didn't have a boyfriend before Nick. You said you were squeamish. Don't try to play victim when it comes to this situation, because you are not a victim in this situation, right? You got the Munchausen by proxy story out, and you are victim in that situation. But you can't play victim in this situation, correct?
No, sir.
What did you think would happen to you?
Thought maybe that if people knew that I was gone, they would just think I was missing. And missing people go, unfound all the time. So I just thought I'd remain a missing person.
Now, there was a Facebook post made about this case. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
Do you know where that Facebook post was made, on whose account?
Yes, sir.
Whose account?
My mother's.
What did the Facebook post say? If you can recall exactly, or close to it.
That bitch is dead.
Was there a comment in the post as well about the daughter?
Yes, sir.
What was that comment?
I don't remember exactly how it was worded. But something to the effect of, I raped her sweet innocent daughter. Her laugh was so fucking loud.
Who made that post?
I did.
Did you make that post pretending to be somebody else?
Yes.
And who were you pretending to be?
Nick.
And why would you make that post claiming to be Nick?
I wanted her to be found. I wanted the cops to find her body.
Now, when you and Nick left her house, did you take any money with you?
Yes.
How much?
A little over $4,000.
And where did you get that money?
I stole it from my mother's safe.
While you were gone, how much of that money did you spend?
A couple of $100.
Just one moment, Judge.
Yes, sir.
Gypsy, just a couple more questions. Did your mother own a car?
Yes, sir.
What kind of car?
I can't remember what it's called now. It's a little Nissan Cube, I think.
Okay. Why did you take the Nissan Cube?
I don't know how to drive.
Do you have a driver's license?
No, sir.
Did Nick have a driver's license?
Yes, I think so.
That's all the questions I have, Mr. Judge.
Thank you. Does the state have questions?
Yes, may I move the TV? I'm just going to show Ms. Blanchard a few exhibits.
Sure. Make sure you can see it, okay, Ms. Blanchard? Can you all see it? Okay.
Ms. Blanchard, you and I have talked before, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm just going to ask you a couple questions, okay?
Yes, sir.
You were asked a little bit about, during your relationship, these alter egos that the defendant and you came up with. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
It was the defendant who first introduced you to that idea of alter egos.
Yes, sir.
And he actually first told you about his alter ego, Victor. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
And Victor was a vampire that was 500 years old.
Yes, sir.
And you decided to come up with your alter egos just to kind of please him.
Yes, sir.
And also, as part of this fantasy, you also started to kind of consider yourselves as master and slave, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the defendant was the master,
Yes, sir.
and you were the slave.
Yes, sir.
And at one point, he had sent you basically like a bill of sale, kind of ownership papers. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And those papers would basically mean that the defendant owned you.
Yes, sir.
And you also...
Objection, relevance. What does this have to do with anything? Are his lawyers awake? Like, what are you talking about, bro? Get to the point.
Also were asked a little bit about the videos that you and the defendant sent back and forth. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
And on a lot of those videos that you would send, the defendant would actually send you a script beforehand, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that script would instruct you on what to do in the videos.
Yes, sir.
And they weren't always things you wanted to do, correct?
That is correct.
But you did them anyways,
Yes, sir.
because the defendant told you to.
Yes, sir.
Then at some point also, the defendant at least communicated to you about rape fantasy. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
And you weren't crazy about that idea, correct?
No, sir.
But I believe that as you described it before, you kind of just let him talk about it, correct?
Yes, sir.
To indulge him.
Yes, sir.
The defendant had told you that he had Asperger's, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the only real symptom or maybe personality trait that you noticed that you thought was a result of that was that he insisted that you always capitalize his name.
Yes, sir.
And he would get mad at you if you would talk to him and not capitalize his name, correct?
That is correct.
Prior to, you and the defendant first discussed the killing of your mom, I believe you said about a year prior, correct?
Yes, sir.
And prior to that, you had thought about it before, correct? Like just as a thought.
Yes, sir.
But it was once you were with the defendant that it really became a constant thought, correct?
That is correct.
And that was because the defendant had introduced you to some dark fantasies, correct?
That is correct.
And you felt by being with the defendant and these dark fantasies, that kind of helped bring that out of you.
Yes, sir.
And actually, at one point, the defendant told you he was an assassin in another life.
Yes, sir.
And that as an assassin, he could protect you or take care of you, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you had come up with the alternatives.
This line of questioning is BS. If I was a jury, I wouldn't even be listening, because where are you pulling this shit from? I understand it's in the evidence, but where did you get, did she say any of that on the stand? Did she say any of that with the defense?
I believe it was 3 plans, right? Plan A, B, and C, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the decision to murder your mom was always the last resort, correct?
Yes, sir.
But the murder was referred to as Plan B, right?
Yes, sir.
So A, B, and C kind of are a little out of order. Is that there?
That is correct.
Okay, so A is try to get mom to like defendant, correct?
That is correct.
And then C would be try to get you pregnant.
Yes, sir.
And you discussed those alternative plans with the defendant, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you discussed the fact that murdering your mom would be a last resort. You discussed that fact with the defendant.
Yes, sir.
Because you both knew that was a serious thing.
Yes, sir.
And the defendant knew that as well.
Yes.
At least he communicated that to you.
Yes.
And when it came to the movie theater, I think we heard that didn't go very well, right?
That is correct.
And basically, your mom thought a 26-year-old guy at a Disney movie by himself maybe a little creepy.
Yes.
Okay. So that plan didn't go well. And then when it came to the pregnancy, which I guess would be Plan C, at some point, the defendant didn't really want to do that plan anymore, correct?
He wanted to do it, but his mother wouldn't allow it.
So he basically told you, communicated to you, I can't do Plan C.
Correct.
But a couple weeks before the murder, you kind of still were suggesting to him, hey, could we hold off and try getting pregnant? Do you remember that?
Yes.
But the defendant never really gave you an answer on that. Do you recall?
No, he never gave me an answer on it.
He didn't say, sure, let's try that,
No.
so we can keep killing mom as a last resort, nothing like that.
Yes.
All right. Of the plans, you mentioned that how the murder was to take place, that was all up to the defendant, correct?
That is correct.
And it was the defendant that told you he wanted to stab your mom.
Correct.
And it was the defendant that told you he wanted a knife.
Yes.
And he figured it would be easier for you to get a knife because you could steal it because you would be in the wheelchair, correct?
Correct.
And you knew that the defendant had researched knives online.
Correct.
And at first, he actually wanted you to get like a big machete type knife.
Yes.
But you didn't think that that would be a lot harder to probably wheel out of Walmart, is that right?
That is correct.
So, although he wanted the big machete, you basically saw a knife that you thought you could get out of Walmart.
Yes, sir.
And then you took a picture of that knife,
Yes, sir.
and you sent that to the defendant
Yes, sir.
to make sure that he approved of that knife.
That is correct.
And he did, ultimately.
Yes.
But in addition to the knife, the defendant, since it was his idea on how to kill your mom, he also wanted tape and a taser, correct?
Yes.
And he wanted you to get those items for him.
Yes.
And at one point, you had communicated to him that you had gotten the tape, right?
Yes.
As a jury member, something's not going to leave my head in this case. The prosecution tries to paint the picture of, well, he was telling her what to buy, how to buy it, how big to buy it. He's complicit. Of course he's complicit. But as a jury member, my mind is never going to waver from the fact that this woman told that man, put it in that man's head, basically equipped that man to unalive her mother. It's not his mother, her mother, right? You can try to put it any way you want to put it. He's complicit. It's disgusting, evil, wrong, right? But you cannot shift blame from one individual to the next, because she is as guilty, if not more, than Nicholas, because she equipped him to do what he did. Period, point blank. So you can try to say he's this monster. That very well may be true. But don't try to make it seem like it was his idea to take her mother out so they could be together. That's not what happened here. So as a juror, that would constantly be floating in my head, right? Yeah, the prosecutor makes a good point, but she told him to do it, right?
But you apologized to him that you were not able to get the taser.
Yes, sir.
And for him, the tape was so that he was going to be able to muffle your mom.
That is correct.
And the taser was to basically keep her from fighting back. Is that right?
That is correct.
So before June 10th, in preparation for the murder, fair to say the defendant wanted to take steps to muffle her.
That is correct.
And the defendant wanted to take steps to keep her from fighting back.
That is correct.
The fact that he says the defendant wanted to muffle her, the defendant wanted to buy this big knife, the defendant and Gypsy was complicit in that. Gypsy was okay with that. All of the alter egos they had, Gypsy was okay with that. It wasn't like all of this stuff was against her will. The prosecution paints a case. This is all Nick, right? This is all Nick. He wanted that duct tape. He wanted to muffle her. He wanted to get her out of here. That's just not it. And they do a good job of putting Nick in the limelight, and poor little old Gypsy was just a girl that got caught in the crossfire of this horrible guy with these horrible fantasies, right? Not the case. If you're a juror and you're thinking and you're listening to her testimony, and if you're a defense attorney, you're trying to jump in and object anytime you can. If you're a defense attorney that actually cares about the welfare of your client, you're trying to jump in anytime you can when you feel the prosecution is writing the story incorrectly towards your client. Okay? And that's about all I have to say for this part. The prosecution wants to convict Nick. That's their job. The defense is not doing its job. I could hear a pin drop on this side of the courtroom. A pin drop. They don't care. They probably are looking down on him because of the nature of the crime. They don't care. They don't have anything to object to. The examination of Gypsy Rose wasn't that good. The opening statement wasn't that good. And he's sitting here cross-examining her, making Nick look like he's the one who planned this. And you hear nothing from the defense. That's a big issue. A lawyer can make you or break you. And I feel like in this case, monumental. Monumental. It's about evidence, sure. But your lawyer and who represents you, and if they stand up, say, hey, no, you're not going to tell the jury that. You're not going to paint that picture for the jury. It has a lot to do with your freedom at the end of the day. Hey, don't take it from me. Look at court cases. But guys, I feel like we got a good chunk of Gypsy's second part of being on the stand in Nick's trial. I feel like she told some untruths about having boyfriends in the past, about being squeamish, certain things like that. Little white lies, right? That can make her credibility as a witness look shady. Hell, she's already shady, so, little white lies. I feel like this second part, less truthful than the first part. The facts, she's truthful on. When you're asking about her background, her personality, we get a little less truthful. If you guys like videos like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're going all the way to the top. So hop on the rocket ship while it's lifting off the ground. That was cheesy. That joke. That was cheesy. Anyway, guys, make sure to comment, like, subscribe, share, engage. This has been Lindsay Unfiltered. Bye now.